I think it's important that we enjoy the writing process, because if you're enjoying practicing writing, right, not just your story, but practicing writing, then you'll get better at writing, and then your stories will get better, and then they'll become what you wanted them to be in the first place. If they're not the way they're supposed to be or the way that you would imagine them, then the one at fault probably is you, and you probably just need to be a better writer.
Welcome back to the Wax Quill Podcast. Woohoo!
It's been a rough day, but you're here, and I'm here, so let's talk about writing books. Today, I want to tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a pottery teacher who had two classes, two groups of students. He decided to try an experiment. With one group, he gave them their 2 or 3 pounds of clay, showed them how to wedge it, showed them how to throw it on the wheel, and then told them, okay, for the next 30 days, you are going to pour your hearts and souls into these pots. You are going to shape them and reshape them and trim them until they are perfect. Every single day, you are going to work on this pot. At the end of 30 days, we'll put them in the kiln and we'll see how they turn out. For the other group, he gave them their 3 pounds of clay, showed them how to wedge it, showed them how to center it on the wheel and throw the pot, and said, okay, every single day for the next 30 days, you are going to throw one pot. And you are going to work on that single pot every day. And then the next day, you'll start a new one. You're going to crush the pot from the day before, wedge it once again so you have a nice big block of clay, and you'll throw it on the wheel again and form your new pot every single day. And then at the end of the 30 days, the last pot you do is the one that we'll put in the kiln, and we'll fire it and we'll see how it turns out. Well, what do you think happened? We're going to put a pause on that story, and I'm going to tell you a different story. Once upon a time, I was stuck in Mexico, and my husband bought me a keyboard, and I wanted to learn how to play the piano. I could already read music, at least the top hand, the treble clef. So I had the goal, with all the spare time I had at the time, to learn how to play 1 hour's worth of songs. And I wanted them to be beautiful songs, songs that I enjoyed. So I had my list of songs, I had my sheet music, and I would practice one song over and over and over again. And it was very difficult. I had to figure out which note was which on the bottom hand. I already knew how to read music. I played the trumpet in high school, but I had to put a lot of practice into it, all for one song. It took me like a month to get one song fairly playable. Well, how far do you think I got with my goal? There. Instead of learning how to sight read, instead of sitting down and practicing easy songs that maybe I didn't like, and practicing an easy song until I could play it well every day, how far do you think I got? Not far. I got to about 15 minutes worth of that hour full of songs, and I didn't learn very well how to read, how to sight read, and it's been a few years since then. Looking back, I feel like an idiot because I realized if I had spent all those hours that I had on my hands, if I had spent all those hours practicing sight reading, I would be really, really good at sight reading by now. But I'm not. Instead, I'm really good at playing like 5 songs. And even then, I can't get them perfectly. I can't play them perfectly. Sorry about my voice, by the way. I'm kind of sick today. Back to the pottery story. Which pots do you think were better? The ones that were worked on for 30 days, or the 30th pot that was formed, that was thrown and created and trimmed by the student? Well, the student who had had practice over and over, starting the process from beginning to end, over and over for 30 days, was by far much better. Their pots were much better than the pot that had been obsessed over for a month. And so, what do we learn from this? Well, you probably guessed it. A lot of you are probably like, boo! But moral of the story is, you need to write a lot to become a good writer. And the more you write, the more you sight read, the more you practice the craft of writing, not necessarily practicing one story, the better you'll be. And then you can go back and bring that one story to life. So if you really want to be a good writer, you need to practice writing, not practicing a story. Does that make sense? Yeah, maybe, possibly. The problem with that is that it's hard and it's boring and it's discouraging. And especially if it's your first story, you get lost and you don't know where to go, or you just get blocked in this one scene and you're like, I know how I imagine it, or I had imagined it one way, but now the beginning's different. What the heck am I supposed to do now? This character is not the way I planned them to be. Everything's just weird. It feels weird. It's not at all how I had pictured it. When I loved imagining it, now it's completely different and I hate it. Well, this one's for you. That was a very long introduction for what will probably be a very short video. So what we're going to do here is, first off, I'm going to tell you, you can sign up for Book Bootcamp. Link is below. If you want help writing your first story, or your second story, or your third story, this is for you. I help you to stay accountable. I'm going to be teaching you how to do this, how to plot, how to do characters, how to get your daily schedule down pat, even if you have crazy kids. This is for you. Anyway, what I want to talk about today is enjoying the process of learning how to write, not practicing your story, right? Learning how to write more books. Because if you learn how to enjoy writing books, lots of different books, then the books that you write will be better, right? Because you're actually learning the craft, not just the song. You're learning how to be a potter, not just learning how to work on the same bowl for 30 days, okay? So here are the ways that I have gotten through writing books that I was sick of in the beginning. Right now, I don't actually have to use these methods, but I very much depended on them before. So the first thing to do in order to enjoy writing is try this. Do you like graphs? You probably don't, but you might like these graphs. I want you to think about your story. Do you think it's a full-blown novel? Do you think it's a short story? If it's a novel, then maybe estimate about how long you think it's going to be. A safe bet is 50,000. If you're like, well, I have a lot of world building, I have a lot of other things, maybe just stick with 50,000 to begin with. Or hey, if you're feeling very ambitious, go with 80,000 or go with 100,000. Up to you. Pick one. If you're not sure, go with 50, because then you can add a lot more words later. So 50,000 words. Well, it's doable to write 1,000 words a day. So, or it's actually, even if you don't write 1,000 a day, it's easy to keep track of things in increments of 1,000 words, right? So what I invite you to do is find a can or a jar lid or anything that's a circle, and get some lined paper. Here's my notes for this podcast. And you draw a circle. Draw a pretty circle. I'm not going to draw a pretty circle. I'm going against my own advice. Wow, that's an ugly one. There we go. Beautiful circle, yeah? And now you're going to find the very center of it, count the lines, draw a dot in the center, and draw it in half. Boom. Like that. Then you're going to figure out how many points are going to be on each side. So you have this part, and then you start figuring out what half of your goal is. So 50,000 divided by 2, that's 25,000. Okay, that's an odd number, so we're going to have a little tiny wedge right in the middle. Little tiny wedge. Probably I'm making these too big. Whoa, that one's way too big. Oh well, it's okay. Little tiny wedges, right? And then you're going to go half of that. With that one out of the way, you have, let's see, 25, so 24, half of 24 is 12, so that's an even number. You go half again. There's your 12. Half again. There's your 6, right? This one's right here. And then you do that one in 3. You guys are probably like, this is awful. So here, this is 1,000 words. Boom. 1,000 words, boom, 1,000 words, boom. Obviously, it's going to look a lot better if you actually sit down and measure it out, like with a ruler or anything else. And then you just go through and do that all over again. And copy roughly what size they are. Look, that's a quarter of my goal. That's the first quarter of your book. Or if you like making things pretty, do it this way. The middle of your book is probably going to be the longest part. And then your beginning and your end are roughly the same. So you could say about 15,000 words for the beginning, 15,000 words for the end, and 20,000 for the middle, right? 15 plus 15, 30, 30 plus 20, 50. So you can make 3 circles, one for the beginning of your book, one for the middle, and one for the end. And then the first one that you make, you need to divide into 15 sections, right? So you would probably want to divide that into 3 and then mark those into 5. The middle one's by 20, that's easy. In quarters, and then 5 from there. And then the last one is the same as the first. And then as you go, you start. Every time you write 1,000 words, you mark it, and it's very satisfying. You can use whatever color you want, and you can write the date by it if you want. And then once you finish the first section, those first 15,000 words, the whole thing will be colored in, and it will be beautiful, and you'll feel so accomplished, and you'll be excited to start on the next one. Anyway, so maybe that's just for me, but I really use that a lot for my other books. Another thing to do is a sticker chart. Buy like 50 little smiley stickers or random stickers, and then get some graph paper, mark off 50 squares, and put a sticker on each square of 1,000 words that you write. Or write the date in for each square when you reach 1,000 words. That makes it really easy to track your progress, your rate of writing. That helps you estimate about how long it will take you to finish the book. Helps you to know and gather a lot of things. It's just data. You don't need it, but it's fun if you're weird like me. Anyway, next thing, you can get a fountain pen. If you're writing by hand, I highly, highly suggest it because fountain pens are fun. You can also get quills and dip pens, and you feel so sophisticated with your fancy pen. And it's like Joe March. You get ink on your fingers, and people are like, "What are you doing?" You're like, "Oh, sorry, that's ink from my pen. I'm a writer. It's from writing my book this morning." And you get to change the ink colors. I've talked about fountain pens before. They're amazing. Get one. You don't even have to get a fancy one, just get one. That'll be great. You can get yourself a very fancy keyboard. There's some that sound like typewriters. They're very fun. And mine has little lights that light up as I press buttons, and it's very satisfying. And I feel very, once again, sophisticated, legit, and all of my imposter syndrome just flies out the window as I'm clickety clacketing on the keyboard. So get one of those. It makes it fun, guys. Let's keep writing fun. Keep it fun. If it's not fun, why are we doing it? You can get a fancy journal, like those cool old agey journals with like the leather covers and the uneven pages that you can wrap up. There's like a little leather tie, and you open it, and it's thick, creamy paper. And you have your dip pen or your fountain pen, and you feel so fancy as you're writing on it. You can make little notes in the margins. If you're not good at writing in straight lines, this will be excellent practice for you. You'll be really good by the end. And you can count the words after each session, which is also very satisfying. Do that like 50 times, and then you'll know your average, word count per page, and that'll make it easier to keep track of how much you've written. Anyway, another thing you can do is get a fancy binder or just a normal binder, and then get a picture of, or make a mood board. Those are awesome. Print it out and make it the front cover of your binder. And then as you write, this is your first draft, but that's okay. Let it be fun. Print the pages that you've written of your first draft. They're not probably going to be in the final draft, but that's okay. Print them off, clip the little holes in, clink, and then put it in your binder. And then your binder will be filled up with pages, one after another, and you'll be able to flip through them and see all of your progress, and you'll feel so proud of yourself, and it will be wonderful. Oh, and then another thing, if you're typing, Another thing you can do is change the page color, change your font, like the nice black letter fonts, or Comic Sans. There's like a Comic Sans hack where you pick a very unprofessional looking font and you write with it, and it helps you to get past the doubts. It helps you to write faster because you don't think that it has to be perfect. It's like a mind game, but it actually works. It worked for me. So try it. I suggest using the black letter fonts because they're cool. Another thing you can do is every 5,000 words or 10,000 words, you have earned yourself a fancy drink or a fancy treat or something. Treat yourself. Make it fun. Let it be fun. Bring the fun back. My friends, I know this was short, but I think it's important that we enjoy the writing process because if you're enjoying practicing writing, right, not just your story, but practicing writing, then you'll get better at writing and then your stories will get better and then they'll become what you wanted them to be in the first place. If they're not the way they're supposed to be or the way that you would imagine them, then the one at fault probably is you. And you probably just need to be a better writer. Okay, that's all I have for today, my friends. Go have some fun. Go write your book. It's going to be great. Follow the podcast, sign up for Book Bootcamp. And if you, if you are a writer, published or not, and you want to be on this podcast, send me a message on Instagram. Do it. Are you following me on Instagram? Why aren't you following? That's all I have to say, friends. Go write your books. Bye.